Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Anthem video. It's Thales Moustache here and today gonna show you guys the strongest electric storm build. So let's start by talking about the seals. So here in the blast seal slot we're gonna be using the Ponder Infinity, which is an upgraded version of the Lightning Strike, and it has a special effect called Raptor's Amplitude that while hovering, electric damage is increased by 60%. That just fits perfectly for the storm because we're gonna be hovering by about 99% of the time. So now let's talk a little bit about the inscriptions. Just bear in mind that we did not get the best rolls possible in this seal right here, so you can increase the damage output of this build dramatically if you manage to get a legendary version of this one, or if you manage to get better inscriptions, which I don't believe that's really hard. So now we got here plus 140% damage increase for the gear, which gonna help a lot in the DPS, but it can be increased quite a lot still. So now let's talk a little bit about the focus seal. So here we're using the seal of the Open Mind, which is an upgraded version of the Shock Burst, and it has a special effect that hitting an enemy from above refuels a charge, and it can occur once every 5 seconds. Now let's take a look at inscriptions. We got plus 18% damage increase for all of our gears and plus 200% charges, which is gonna be really helpful for this build. So normally the seal of the Open Mind comes only with 1 charge, but this one will give you 3 charges. So let's just think a little bit right here. There's a very specific rotation that you can follow with this build that I'm using if you got the 200% charges inscription on the seal of the Open Mind, and the rotation is the following. You're gonna use your seal of the Open Mind twice, then you're gonna use your Ponder Infinity once, and then you're gonna use your seal of the Open Mind 3 times in a row, because the first time that you're gonna use it right after using your Ponder Infinity, actually you're gonna gain back all of your charges, so you can just use all of them and just leave one for after the Ponder Infinity. So basically the rotation is 1 seal of the Open Mind, the second seal of the Open Mind, 1 Ponder Infinity, and the third seal of the Open Mind, which gonna give you more charges, so you can do this again. 1 seal of the Open Mind, 2 seals of the Open Mind, Ponder Infinity, third seal of the Open Mind. And just rinse and repeat. This is gonna be really useful for clearing mobs, breaking shields, and destroying everything you find in this game. So now let's take a look at the weapons. So here we're using the Elemental Rage, which is an upgraded version of the Defender, and it comes with a special effect called Veteran's Fury that hitting elite enemies increases all elemental damage by 5% for 10 seconds, and it stacks up to 20 times. So basically, whenever you're fighting an elite enemy, you can switch to this weapon, shoot it 20 times, and get a buff of 100% elemental damage for 10 seconds. I don't really like this effect very much because it actually only occurs if you manage to hit the enemy with the bullets of this specific weapon, and it's not actually very strong, but it's all up to you. I'm just showing you guys what you can use in this build to maximize the damage output, and plus 100% damage for 10 seconds is something that it's worth mentioning. Now let's take a look at the options here. We got plus 20% gear damage, we got plus 18% weapon damage, plus 11% speed on the R1, and plus 10% maximum shield, which is not bad at all. So now for the second weapon, we're using the Radiant Fortress, which is an upgraded Constrictor, and it has a special effect that hitting 8 shots in a single burst recharges shields by 35%. Basically, I'm using this shotgun right here because, man, the inscriptions in this one are actually awesome. It's gonna be really hard for me to actually find a better weapon to put here, because I play mostly using my seals for damage output, not the weapons. And this one got me plus 110% maximum shield and plus 15% gear damage for the javelin. So it's really hard to replace this weapon, but just use here whatever you got that increases the seals damage, that gives you shield, or that has a special effect that helps you. So now let's talk a little bit about the components. So here for the first component we're using the Mark of Wrath, which increases gear damage by 50% and lowers gear recharge rate by minus 20%. And it gives you a special effect that while R1 recharges, L1 damage increases by 50% for 5 seconds. So that's gonna really help us boosting the damage on our Ponder Infinity So whenever you're out of charges for your Seal of the Open Mind, your damage gonna be increased by 50% for 5 seconds for your Ponder Infinity. So that's pretty good. Now for the second component, we're using the Gunslinger's Mark, which increases gear recharge rate by 50% and lowers gear damage by minus 20%. Now the special effect of this one is actually broken, but hopefully on the next patch they will actually fix it. Now, just bear in mind that those two components right here are very useful together, since they will both increase your gear recharge rate by 30% and your gear damage by 30% when used together. Now for the third component, we're using the Token of Daring, which increases elemental damage by 35% and decreases physical damage by minus 35%. Now this one has a special effect that a shield break increases seal damage by 20% for 20 seconds. So whenever you break a shield, your Ponder Infinity and your Seal of the Open Mind are going to receive a buff of 20% damage for 20 seconds. That's really, really good. Now for the fourth component, we're using the Token of the Master that increases blast damage by 35%. I'm not sure that this is applied to the Seal of the Open Mind or the Ponder Infinity, but the special effect does apply, which is hitting an enemy with an R1 increases L1 damage by 60% for 5 seconds. Now this is really good because whenever you hit an enemy with your Seal of the Open Mind, you're gonna get an increased 60% damage for 5 seconds for your Ponder Infinity. That will help a lot killing enemies and breaking shields. So that's really good to have. Now for the fifth component, we're using the Amulet of Winter. And actually, I'm not going to talk a little much about this component right here because we're only using this for its special effect, which is actually switched. And actually, as you might be aware, the Amulet of Winter is not giving you its own effect, but instead it's giving you the Mark of Ruin effect, which is while L1 recharges, R1 damage increases by 20% for 20 seconds. Now that's very helpful, so probably they will actually fix this on the next update. So what you're gonna do here is when the patch comes out, if they fix it, you're gonna replace the Amulet of Winter by the Mark of Ruin. So whenever your Ponder Infinity is recharging, your Seal of the Open Mind gonna get a buff of 20% more damage for 20 seconds, which is really, really good. So just bear that in mind. So here for the last component, we're using the Token of the Pupil, which increases the number of combo chains by 2. And it has a special effect that hitting an enemy with an L1 increases R1 damage by 60% for 5 seconds, which is really helpful for the build. So now, whenever you use your Ponder Infinity, you're gonna receive a 60% damage buff for your Seal of the Open Mind for 5 seconds. So this is so good for this build, man, because whenever you use your Ponder Infinity, you're gonna receive a buff into your Seal of the Open Mind, and whenever you use your Seal of the Open Mind, you're gonna buff your Ponder Infinity. So everything is buffing everything all of the time. So man, this has such a good synergy, and you're gonna absolutely destroy anything in this game with this build. And right now, this is my favorite DPS build for the Storm class. If you guys were wondering, you should try this out. Now for the support seal, we're using the Wind Wall, which creates a wall of wind and set position that blocks projectiles. Now bear in mind that actually the health pool of this the support seal is very low right now, and it will actually break if any enemy manages to hit it. But with the next update coming, probably they will increase the health of this support seal, making it more useful, but it will also last for a shorter period of time. Instead of 60 seconds, it will last for only 20 seconds. So it's going to be much more useful after the patch. Now for the inscriptions, we're using this basically for the plus 14% L1 recharge speed. We're gonna help us a lot keeping up with our rotations and keeping the Ponder Infinity recharging faster. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe for more Anthem videos like that. So now I'm gonna show you guys a small demonstration so you can actually see the full power of this build. So thank you for watching, guys, and until the next episode, see you!